In today's Dr. C's Tips video, we are talking all about the do's and don'ts of a first date. So I have had or heard so many horror stories from my girlfriends tell me about their first dates, as well as their dating stories. And in the spirit of it almost being Valentine's Day and it being February, I thought this would be the perfect subject to discuss in today's Dr. C's Tips. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when the next Dr. C's Tips video is up, make sure to hit subscribe right now so you can stay up to date with all my latest and greatest videos. So let's go on to the first tip. So do use a picture that accurately looks like you if you are using a dating website or dating app. Why is this? Well, you don't want to start your date on disappointment if you look nothing like your picture. So yes, don't use a picture that was you 10 years ago when you used to be X, Y, or Z. Make sure that this picture was taken in the last few months and accurately looks like you. So tip number 2 is do widen your definition of what the right guy or girl looks like or is like. Why? Well, if you have a tremendously long list of what this person is supposed to look like or some type of characteristic they're supposed to meet, if it's so long, then the chances of you actually finding this person are going to be so slim that you're going to end up being single forever. So instead, how about opening your eyes to new people that you might actually find someone that actually meets most of the list, just wasn't all of them. So tip number 3 is when it comes to initiation, do make the first step, or it's at least okay to take the first step. Yes, that means girls, you can actually initiate going on a first date. So no, this does not mean that you're too masculine or you're too aggressive or you're too desperate. It just means you know what you want. And so to make sure that this relationship is on equal playing fields, then after you've initiated this, hey, do you want to go on a date or would you like to grab some coffee or dinner? Then let the guy have some control and say, and let him be the one that chooses where to go and what day to do the date. And talking from personal experience, I did this with my husband and we've been married for almost 6 years. Next tip, do drop the pressures and expectations. Why? Well, because when you set yourself up, and I think this might be the most common thing I've actually heard my patients in the past as well as my friends tell me, is that when they go on the date, they're already expecting this person to be their husband or their fiance or boyfriend. How about instead viewing this first date as you're just going to meet someone? This person doesn't have to be anyone. It could actually just end up being a friend. But when you go with the right mindset of I'm just discovering and getting to learn this person just to see about hanging out, then you're not going to have so much pressure and so much expectations about the date, and it's going to go so much better. For the next one, do share the spotlight on your first date. So let me tell you, a relationship is 50-50. So that means you need to also ask questions to the other person so you get to know them. Remember, this isn't just about you and it's not the you show. So make sure that you are taking turns and getting to know about the other person as well. So for the next tip, do be yourself. Let me tell you that if you pretend that you're someone else, your relationship is automatically doomed to fail. Why? Because you're pretending to have different interests, values, and beliefs that you don't have. So what's going to happen is after 6 months or after a year, your true self's going to come out, and then your relationship is going to end, or you're not going to be happy in it. So let's talk about some conversation starters and what you should and should avoid discussing. So number 1, do talk about who you are today. So you want to make sure that anything that happened to you in the past, unless it was actually raised or was relevant, don't bring up about your ex-boyfriend or about anything in the past. Remember, this is just a discovering the other person first date. This isn't like we've been dating for 3 to 4 months and this is something that you should know about. Other things you can talk about or during your first date is ask where home is. Ask what's on their bucket list. Ask, what are their favorite types of food and any favorite restaurants that they'd like. Ask about what they do for a living. just make sure not to ask them about what their salary is. And then another one is you can ask what they like to do for fun. What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Now on to the do not talk about. Do not talk about salary like I just said. Don't ask why they're single. Someone can get so defensive about that, and you're assuming that they had to be in a relationship. So that's one thing to leave off the table. Make sure that we're not talking about religion and politics. Don't talk about babies or marriage. This can all happen in future dates, not on the first date. And for the last tip that I share is just know that when it comes to dating, the good, the bad, and the ugly are also part of dating. You know, I feel like we're almost expected to assume that dating is all about finding the right guy and it being almost like The Bachelor. They go on these dreamlike vacations and these amazing whirlwind trips and dinners. Well, guess what? Yes, last time I checked, there's great things about dating, but there's also a lot of drama involved, just like in the show. So make sure that you are being realistic and know that some heartache is going to happen from some bad dates. And you should just be aware of that. At the end of the day, we have to be vulnerable in order to make real connection. And so we're only going to do that by trial by fire. So we might have to kiss a lot more bad frogs before we find the right person for us. So I hope these tips help you out on your next date. And if there's anything that you'd like for me to go into more specifically in a next video, make sure to share below in the comments, or feel free to send me a private message over on Instagram at Christie_Ferrari, and we can talk a little bit more about what we can do in terms of like a subject for a next video. But yes, thank you as always for watching and following along. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can be up to date with all the latest and greatest videos. You can check out my other Dr. C's Tips video over here. And don't forget to leave that thumbs up and leave a comment below on what you liked, didn't like, and what you'd like to see next. I'll see you guys soon.